Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my podcast. This is Pretty Powerful by D. And as you know, I am your host. So this is going to be the first episode of a series that I am calling Walking into the Unknown. And if you paid attention to any social media posts that I have posted, you know that I have a few coming up, and you can expect some guests in the future, so stay tuned for that. I am so excited to be back and be doing this episode because, I found that I have a lot to say, and that's really why I started all of this in the first place. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. Today, I had a good day today. For the most part, I really had a good day today. I was focused, had good energy, and life happened to me, just like it happens to every single one of us. And I think that the important thing is to remember that we're human. We can only handle too much, and it's okay to not be okay, right? Because oftentimes when life happens, we're not okay, but maybe we try to put on a front like we're okay, or maybe we try to convince other people that we're okay, and hell, maybe at the end of the day, we're trying to convince ourselves that we're okay just to make it through. But when I think about walking into the unknown, I think about what I've been through in just the last 6 months, what all of us have been through in the last year and a half, 2 years. Like, I don't think any of us expected this pandemic to hit. We didn't expect to lose loved ones. We didn't expect any of this to happen. And I think that we have to find the beauty in the unknown, right? Like, it hurts. It's hard. All of this has been a whirlwind of emotions. It's been a trying time for everybody. And keeping it raw and real and handling it however you have to handle it, giving yourself the grace to say, like, okay, this is a situation, this is where I'm at, and this is where I'm trying to go. How am I going to get there? Asking yourself all these questions. But that's not the first initial reaction. That's not what we're initially thinking about. You know what I mean? We're thinking about how we're going to make it through. What am I going to do? And that's been me. The last 6 months, I lost my job. I lost my marriage. I lost my mom. I lost a friendship. I've lost so much. And I know that there's people out there that can relate to that, because everybody has been on a losing spree. I mean, some people are winning, absolutely. But everybody has battles and are on a journey that they don't talk about. And I felt the need to bring this series because I feel the need to talk about it. I think people need a safe space to say, like, I'm not okay. And to say, gosh, how can I get better? What do I do? And that's why I'm here. I want to talk about my experiences. I want to talk about how, hopefully to help you. I'm not a licensed professional by any means necessary. Hated college, so I didn't finish it. So I can't relate there, but maybe one day I'll go back. But it was never for me. But I knew that my purpose was to talk to people. So here we are. And I'm talking to you. And a friend of mine said something earlier today that kind of helped me refocus and get out of my mood, because he said, no matter if you have 3 viewers or 3 billion viewers or anything else, it doesn't matter, because you know what your purpose is and you know why you're doing it. So I hope you guys allow me to open up and let's talk about it. Let's talk through it. Let's figure it out. But in January 24th, I lost my job, right? Which, whatever, now it's whatever, but in that moment, like, I lost it. I'm like, I gave you guys my everything. I gave you all of me. I put you before my family, right? Trying to make a career out of my situation or my job, whatever. Not realizing that the very people that I sacrificed my time for didn't care about me, didn't care about my family, didn't care about any situation I was going through. And that's almost every job out there. I'm sure there are jobs out there that people really do care about you and what you go through, but they didn't care about my situation. They didn't care about how much PTO I needed, what bereavement time I needed. They didn't care about any of that. So I was so heartbroken, and I'm like, gosh, why would they do that to me? First of all, I was just at work on Friday. Why didn't they fire me on Friday? They wanted to call me on my day off and fire me. Isn't that illegal? Like, what's going on? And I remember in that moment, like, I felt so lost. I felt like I didn't know where my life was going to go. My marriage fell apart. Like, all of these things were happening to me. And I'm like, God, why? What did I ever do to deserve what's happening to me? And I came to the conclusion that it's not that I deserved it. It's just that I could handle it. But in hindsight, right now that I'm looking at it, God took me out of that situation for a reason, because he knew that the coming months of my life, everything was going to change. My life was going to change, and I needed the time freedom. I needed the capability to be able to handle my situation and not worry about a job that didn't worry about me. Y'all hear me? Didn't even care. And they knew what was going on in my life. They knew the responsibilities that I held. They knew that everything was going to change for me, and still made the decision to let me go. And I had to be okay with that. So the first couple of days I was sad. I was, upset. I'm like, what am I going to do? I got to put food on my table for these kids. I got to figure it out. And I got this nice house that I got to pay for. Like, how am I going to do that? Like, I've never had a handout, never had a government assistance this, never had a nothing that, like, nothing. And all the while, my mom is dying. My mom battled cancer for 4 years. And I was right there with her the entire time. And so leading up to me losing my job, okay, I was like, cool, God's going to work it out. We're going to be okay. And that very much so was the case, even though, like, it was hard to see. I kept faith. I kept trying to be positive. I kept trying to do what I got to do and not stress about it, because that's what they say, don't stress about it, whatever. But you're still stressing about it. But as I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, Lord, guide my steps, because I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening in my life. I don't know how to pay my bills. I don't know none of that. And regardless of how financially smart you are, how you set yourself up, whatever it is that you do, yeah, you may have 6 months saved up, yeah, whatever. But what happens when 6 months runs out? But when I lost my job, you see, I took the opportunity and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna accept this break, because that's exactly what it is. We work so hard for nothing. We work so hard to take our time away from our kids, to take our time away from our family, our spouses, whatever it is you love and enjoy, whether you have a family or not. But we still have to keep going. And I think that was the biggest lesson for me. How do I pick it up and keep going? Well, I picked it up, keep going. I got approved for unemployment, thank God, because they fired me, so I wasn't sure if I was going to get approved for unemployment. And I accepted the time that I had, and I spent it with my family. Because little did I know that just a short 3 months after I lost my job, I was going to lose my mom. And that whole situation was a whole whirlwind. And you don't think that you're going to lose somebody, even when they're battling a sickness that is out of their control. You don't want to think like, oh, this person's going to die. This person that I love so much is not going to be here. But that is precisely what happened to me. And I hurt for everybody who has ever experienced the amount of pain that I experienced in losing my mom. And I'm not going to sit here and cry, but maybe I will cry, and that's okay too, because it's okay to cry, but I don't want to cry on the internet. But I will say this. That last time that I got to spend with my mom was the most valuable time of my life. And I am grateful that I had that time. Even if I didn't know that it was going to be so abrupt and it was going to come to an end. Because if you knew my mom, she was the best person. And I didn't think this as a kid, of course, because who thinks that their mom is the best person as a kid? Like, we got to listen to them. We got to follow their rules. I went through some very trying times with my mom and just in general in life. And looking back at it, I wish I could just go back and say I'm sorry for being a brat. Sorry for any time that I made you feel like less of a mother. Because now that I'm a mother, I understand 150% how it feels to not feel like you're good enough, to not feel like you got it all together, you're just trying to do your best. And I think that that's all that any of us are really trying to do, is our best. But sometimes our best is not enough. And we have to be okay with that. But for some people in the world, it will be enough. So let me say that, never settle. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but don't settle. And I sit here and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, gosh. So Easter, right? Easter, April 9th, I believe was Easter's date. I could be wrong. But Easter, my mom, she really wasn't feeling well. She was kind of in and out the hospital. So we spent all day Easter together. We had a great time. I was being a brat. Once again, trying to rush plans instead of just enjoying the time with the family, because that's just what I do, I guess. And I was like, gosh, something told me that day, like, Deja, you're going to regret this. Like, snap out of it. Like, it's not that deep. Whatever you're upset about is not that serious. Like, have a good day. But did I listen? Absolutely not. Absolutely. Because I don't listen. Because I'm a Taurus. And if you believe in that kind of stuff, you know exactly the reason why I don't listen. But I should have. And I'm learning. We're learning from our mistakes. But the day after Easter, my mom was in the hospital. She never came home. And I didn't think that was going to be my reality. I'm thinking this is just another hospital visit. My mom was in and out the hospital forever. So I'm like, this is just another visit. But she was in so much pain. And I'm like, this has never happened before. But here I am, still trying to keep the faith, keep her spirits up, whatever. And some days later, they're doing scans, they're doing tests, they're trying to figure out why she's in so much pain. And they find out that her cancer spread to her spine. And they had a very real conversation with us and was like, we have a treatment for both, but we can't do them both. And because your mother's cancer spreads so fast, here are your options. And I was always my mom's like healthcare proxy. I was always the responsible one. I'm the oldest. I was always the one that had to make the hard decisions. And let me tell you, that weight, that's a heavy burden to bear. And if anybody who is the oldest mate, or anybody in general who carries the weight of knowing that you hold the power to end somebody's life if you have to, or make a medical decision, or make a choice that you don't want to make, but you say okay because you feel a certain obligation, like, you know what, I absolutely will be there for you. I absolutely will do it, because at the end of the day, you're my mom. You're my person. You're my best friend. I will do anything for you. And that weighed so heavy. I never complained about it, because I'm like, you know what? My mom would never complain about doing anything for me. Why am I sitting here complaining? I'm not going to complain. And I'm not going to show her that I feel any type of way about it, because I don't want her to feel like I'm not there, like I don't get it, like I'm not supportive to her. But I absolutely was supportive. It sucked. It was hard. It was a very tough burden to carry. But I carried it. And you're carrying it. So whoever you are listening and you carry that burden, you're doing it. So keep doing it. Because when life hits us and we are walking into the unknown, we don't know what the outcome is. We don't know what's going to happen. But there's also a certain beauty in that, like not knowing how something is going to go, and then it works out. There's a beauty in the struggle because it makes you stronger. There's a beauty in knowing that things might not work out, but it worked out. Because maybe whatever was not meant to work out for you actually worked out. But I say all that to say that the doctors, after all of that, my mom decided to go to hospice. She made that decision on her own. I didn't have to, thank God. You know, she was very coherent in that decision. Throughout the pain, she still remained so positive. And when they told me, you know, they had a conversation with me. They were like, you know, your mom only has 2 weeks. Maybe. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know what was going to happen. I'm like, God, what am I going to do? I have all these responsibilities. What am I going to do? I don't have a job. Yeah, I have a house. Great. Come on. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like, let's do it. But without my mom, who was I? And I felt so robbed. And she asked me that. That was what was so crazy. Like, as I'm walking this journey, as I'm not knowing what's going to happen, and she knew she didn't have that long left, and she accepted it. She was tired. She was so tired. And I didn't get that, but I didn't have a right to feel a certain way about it. But knowing that she was tired, she asked me, she was like, Dejah, what is it that you are afraid of? How can I help you work through this? Because I've accepted what God has for me. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm like, Mom, I feel robbed. I feel robbed of time. I'm 25. And I'm losing the one person that I could always count on. Because if you know me, you know I don't ask for help. You know I'm just not that kind of person. I'd rather figure it out on my own because I've always had to. And me and my mom never had the best relationship until I became an adult. And so that was what was hard for me, because God, had I just shut up and listened, had I just tried to have a relationship, had I just tried a little bit harder, maybe I wouldn't feel like this. But there's a reason why I feel like this. And it's not that I hold like regrets. I don't, you know what I mean? But I do feel bad, because it's like, gosh, Dejah, could you have changed it? But it doesn't matter whether or not we can change our situation. How are we going to walk through our situations and still remain faithful, still remain humble, still remain us without allowing life to break us? So she asked me that. I told her, I feel robbed of time with you. I feel like I need my mom. I need my mom. And how do you lose so much in such a short amount of time? And people lose people all the time. But lo and behold, it happened. So leading up to those events, you know, I watched my mom die. I was in the hospital with her every day. I'd go to the hospital, I'd come home, take care of the kids. I'd go to the hospital, come home, take care of the kids. Like, there was no in between. Like, I did it because that's what I was supposed to do. And I didn't want to regret, like, not spending the time with my mom. So I did everything I could to make that time the best time possible. And I had to look at it in a positive light, because as hard as it was, I had to remain positive about it. And so I was fighting tooth and nail with the hospital. We were trying to get more visitors, all this stupid stuff, trying to make sure that things worked out. the way that we needed them. We had family flying in from out of town because my mom was just that person for everybody, not just me. And again, more roadblocks, more unknown things are just happening, and I'm like, God, I just need a break. I just need you to work it out. So we finally get approval to move her to a facility, but they couldn't do it on the weekend, so we had to wait until Monday. So they moved her on Monday, April 27th. And they moved her in the afternoon. We were there waiting for her, me and the kids. We were waiting in the room. And when you watch somebody die, you see the decline. You know what I mean? Daily. You can see how much their body is failing them. It never failed her spirit, but her body failed her. And I'm sorry, I'm trying not to cry, because I've told this story more times than I can count, but this part always makes me cry. So I didn't want to leave her. You know, I had to go home. I had to feed the kids. I had to figure it out. So I told her, I was like, you know what, Mom? Like, I'll be back tomorrow. And tomorrow was my birthday. April 28th. That was my birthday. And I just wanted to spend the day with my mom. That's all I wanted to do, because April 28th was 2 weeks. It was the 2-week date that they gave us. And me, I'm like, you know, I have faith. Like, my mom's going to make it. Like, I have to spend my birthday with my mom. Like, she can't die. But when I seen her in the hospital, she had no motor function. She couldn't speak. And she was not herself. And it's like, in a way, I knew, but I didn't know. I didn't want to accept it. And so they called me on the night of April 27th. So she had only been at the facility for 8 hours. Probably by the time they called me, I think. And they said, hey, Dejah, your mom's oxygen dropped. And that's typically a sign that she's towards end of life, but we don't really know how much time she has. I said, okay. Can I come over? Can I come there? Can I see her? You know what I mean? Like, can I just, you know, spend some time with her? Or can we wait till the morning so I can bring the kids with me and we can come see her, whatever. And they said, you know, there's no way of knowing, but you are more than welcome to come. Like, we don't know at all, you know what I mean, what's going to happen. But she said, I can call you again if there is any, like, updates or whatever. I call my aunt. And I tell her, and she's like, okay, I'm about to get in the shower. I'm about to go there. And I'm like, me too. So I hopped in the shower, and I got out the shower, and the most surreal thing happened to me. I was sitting there, and it was 12:22, and I felt my heart drop. Like, legitimately, like, heart just dropped. Like, I'm sitting there. Like, I just got out of the shower. I'm chilling. I just got my clothes on. I'm about to get ready to go, and my heart dropped. And I didn't know what it was. Like, I'm like, God, that was weird. And 3 minutes later, they called me and they told me that my mom passed away. And I lost it. I did. I lost it, because no amount of preparation can prepare you for that conversation. For that feeling that you lost everything. And I'm grateful to the facility. They let us come, you know, a nursing home, you guys. My mom was 42. 42. And we're in there deep. We were at the facility deep, you guys. Like, there was probably like a good 25, 30 of us in and out. You know what I mean? Like, to view her body, pay our last respects, whatever we wanted to do before they took her body. When I got there, like, I was the first person there, and I walked in the room and her body was still warm. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, my birthday. You were supposed to see this day. And you want to talk about a moment that breaks you. It was that for me. What do the kids say these days? It was that for me. It was definitely that for me. And I didn't realize it. You know, I'm trying to be strong. I'm trying to do all of these things. And it didn't really like hit me. Like it hit me, but it didn't hit me. So I'm like, okay. All right, God, like that's okay. But I felt so lost. I felt abandoned. I felt like I was standing there and I was watching life pass me by. And maybe if you've ever experienced a heavy amount of grief like that, you know what I mean. And I don't mean like just losing your mom, because not everybody has a relationship with their mom. But I feel grateful that I did. And I feel grateful that she instilled the things in me that she did, because it allowed me to be a better person despite what I had been through. Because she was the true image of strength. And I'm grateful for that. I'm so grateful for that. But it was unexpected, really. If you ask me, somebody gives you 2 weeks, that's unexpected. Nobody expects to hear that. But you still, you know, you try to be okay. And I think that the 2 months following my mom's death, those were the hardest 2 months of my life, because everything was unknown. I didn't know how I was going to wake up and still take care of these kids who are also grieving. I didn't know how I was going to be okay myself. I didn't know what path I was going to take, because in life I've noticed that I have addictive tendencies. When major shifts change in my life, I do things to self-destruct, but I could not do that. In a way, at least I felt like, gosh, DJ, you can't self-destruct. Because if you self-destruct, it's not just you. You have these kids that you have to be there for. All while planning your mom's funeral. All while having life just continue to happen to you. Having to clear out her house because she rented her house. You know what I mean? Like all of these things that I did not expect. And then all while having your family in your ear telling you that you're not enough. What? And I'm like, God, I know I'm strong. I know I am, because you made me that way. But I don't know if I'm strong enough for this. This feels heavy. Heavy to the point I don't want to get up out of bed. I don't want to be a mom. I don't want to do anything. I just want to lay here and be sad. But I couldn't. And if I'm being real raw and honest about that whole 2 months, it's a blur. There's so many things I don't remember. It's like literally as if my body processed the trauma for what it was and pushed it out of my memory, because I really don't remember a lot of what happened. And not for lack of trying. Like I really do sit here and try to remember, like, gosh, DJ, what were you doing? Who were you? And I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was telling her, I'm like, I don't know. I really feel like I don't know what happened. Like I feel lost. I feel like there's a piece of my memory missing. And I don't know what I did in those 2 months. I don't even know how these kids survived those 2 months, because I don't know how I survived those 2 months. But people like to judge you when you're honest about that. You can judge me all day long, but there's nothing that you can say about me that I don't already know about myself. But I'm standing on the other side, and I'm like, you made it. You You made it. Yeah, you're still grieving. Yeah, you're still processing. But that blur, that time, that depression, that anxiety didn't have shit on me. And I didn't allow my problems, my grief, my issues, my marriage failing, all of these things to break me. They may have slowed me down. I may have had to go through some processes. I may have had to cope. But by the grace of God, I made it. And that's real. Because I can't give credit to nobody else. Definitely not myself, because I wouldn't be here. Because people don't talk about that. People don't talk about the people I feel like, are scared to talk about suicide. They're scared to talk about it because this state we live in, or this world we live in, is so quick to put you in a mental institution when you're going through some shit, instead of offering you counseling or services that can help you. Instead, they judge you, drug you, and push you back into the system and make you to be this person that you never were. And now I'm not against mental institutions, because I feel like they're needed. But it's messed up when you know how the system works and how it's not set up for people to win. It's set up for you to fail. It's set up for you to not make it. But it's kind of crazy, because now that I'm on the other side, I can see so clear. Like, even though I'm standing in the middle of this dark tunnel, God still gave me passion, compassion, empathy. He's taking and removing people from my life that don't need to be there, and replacing them with people that do. And for that, I will forever be grateful. Because regardless of how much pain I've gone through, regardless of how much pain you'll go through, I think that you will come out on top, so long as you want to come out on top. And that you're working towards that. And I don't have all the answers. Hell, I probably don't even have half the answers. But I do know that life is about the unknown. Because we don't know nothing. We are not guaranteed tomorrow. We're not guaranteed 5 minutes from now. So are we allowing our situations to control us, or are we controlling our reactions to our situations? And I say that because we can't change necessarily what we're going through. Maybe we could have made a different decision, but we can't go back. So that's a null and void point. But where you're at right now, are you letting your situation, the devil, whatever you want to call it, defeat you? Or are you going to get up and keep fighting? Because I'm going to tell you, I can take a hit. I can take a few hits. But even if you knock me down, I'm going to get up. Because that's what was written for me in my life. So at the end of the day, I really encourage you guys to get up. Because we're constantly walking a dark tunnel. Multiple dark tunnels, really. And you can't see the light at the end. But having enough faith, having enough purpose, having enough motivation to keep going. And I just think about it. And today I was listening to some gospel music because I'm a spiritual person. And even if you're not spiritual, gospel music can bring you out of things, bring you out of a mindset that you're not supposed to be in, that God never wanted you to be in. But I will tell you this. Sometimes we endure trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma because God wants to put us in a place where we don't have anybody but Him. Or however you look at it, when you hit rock bottom, there's nowhere else to go but up. So what are you doing to go up? What are you doing to better yourself? What are you doing to change yourself? What are you doing to make sure that whatever the outcome for your situation that you would like to see, you make that happen? That's the whole reason why I started this podcast, because I'm like, this is my purpose. And it may not be big right now. I may not have a lot of viewers right now, and that's okay. Because even if I made one person think about it, even if I made one person encourage them, not made them do anything, but encourage them to be a better version of themselves, to pull them up from wherever they're at, to let them know that regardless, at the end of the day, you always have a safe place to be. That's what I want. Because I know what it's like to be in such a dark place and have nobody. Even to this day. To have nobody. And maybe you have people in your life, they're like, oh, you don't have nobody, you can talk to me. And you sitting there like, now you know. Yeah, maybe I could talk to you. And yeah, maybe you'll listen. But your love for me is conditional. So why would I talk to someone that could take my business and go throw it in the streets, or someone that could, just misuse or abuse my vulnerability for their gain? And maybe they won't do that, but maybe they will. And that's the unknown. So understand that this is a safe space, because I wouldn't put my business out here on the internet if it wasn't. And granted, the internet's not a safe space, but my podcast is. And I want you guys to have hope that no matter what situation you're going through, that there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. And I don't want anybody in this lifetime making permanent decisions for a temporary problem. Because the problems are always temporary. Even if they come back to back to back, they're always temporary. So get up. You can't stay down. You got to get up. Because maybe you got to get up for your kids. Maybe you got to get up for your family. Maybe you just need to get up for you. But you don't got to stay down. And everything in life is a choice. Understand that the way we choose to feel is a choice. And even when we feel like it's not a choice, like this is just what it is, it's a choice. So when we hit rock bottom, we have a choice to go up, or we have a choice to stay there. When we go through trauma, we have a choice to process it in a healthy way, or we have a choice to be toxic. Understand that you always have a choice. And I hope that whoever is listening to this can gain from that. Because you can go through hell and back and still come out being the most genuine person that you've always been. You don't have to allow your trauma to break you to a point where you're no longer you. Yeah, it may change the way you look at things. It may change the way you view things, but it doesn't have to change you. And I think oftentimes we think like, oh, people change. Yeah, people do change. We evolve. But at the same time, our souls, our spirits are exactly what they are meant to be. So don't allow your trauma, your problems, life to take that from you. You be very much the person that God made you to be, or you were meant to be. Because I can promise you that no amount of sadness, no amount of life, I will not allow it to get me down. And even if it pushes me down, I promise you I'm going to get back up. Because I have to get back up. It's not just about me. And maybe that's where I find my purpose, is knowing that, like, I have somebody that I have to be there for. I have multiple somebodies I got to be there for. So how do I continue to do that? Well, for me personally, I pray about it. I pray for everybody, but I pray for myself, but I'm also so grateful that I've gone through the things that I've gone through, because it gave me a different view. It gave me a different, like, insight to life. And understanding that, you know what? I can't control it. So God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, so that I'm not wasting my energy on things I can't control. We all have a life to live, and we all have a purpose. And whatever that purpose is for you, follow it. It doesn't matter who gets hurt in the process, because those people were never for you. They were never a part of your circle. So stop thinking about people. You always do what's best for you, even if that means choosing yourself over other people. Because we fail. We're designed to do that. But we also have to overcome that. And every day is a battle. Every day we have a battle to get out of bed. Maybe we have a battle to wake up to our alarm, or we have things that we're struggling with: drugs, alcohol, sexual addictions, whatever it is. We all have our own problems, and nobody's problems are worse than anybody else's. But understand that maybe somebody else is in a different position than you. So even though you feel like their trauma is not as bad as what you're going through, don't make them feel like less, because their problems may be just as bad. Maybe their plate is smaller. And I hate that when people try to downplay their trauma because they feel like your trauma is worse, or you try to downplay somebody else's trauma because you feel like yours is worse. No, maybe my plate is this big and their plate is this big. Maybe the mindset that they can handle, or the amount of trauma they can handle, is only this big. So you stand there and you support them and you listen to them and you say, you know what? I understand that that's a tough thing to go through. How can I help? How can we be more selfless? How can we're all walking the same, I don't want to say path, because we're not. We're all going different directions. But I can't think of the right word, so I'm going to say we're all on a journey. And it doesn't matter what it looks like. But if I can lift somebody up on my right and lift somebody up on my left, I feel better. Because I'm not going to just let people stay down. Because my friends did not let me stay down. My family did not let me stay down. They showed up on my birthday and we had a house party when my mom died. And even though I felt like I wasn't present in that moment, my family showed up for me when I needed them to show up. And that's what's important. Having people in your circle, in your life, that will show up for you. And even if you have no one, now you do. Because I'm never going to leave anybody hanging. And I pray that anybody who listens to this, and even the people who don't listen to this, are not just going to let people be wherever they're at. If they're in a worse place than you, help them. If they're not in a place to be able to pick themselves up, grab them and pick them up and do what you can do, because we may not be able to do everything, but we let them know that everything that I was able to do for you, I did with my heart wide open and because I wanted to. You owe me nothing. Because that's another thing, right? Like, when people are going through things and we help them, and I feel like some people just expect something back. But you're sitting there like, dang, didn't you help me out the kindness of your heart? And it's so funny how many people do not help out the kindness of their heart. They help because they're like, oh, I'm going to get it back. If I helped you, it's because I wanted to. And because that was my calling, and that's what God placed on my heart. So as you guys go through this next week, and as you go through life in general, whether you listen to another podcast of mine or not, I hope that you took something from it. I hope that you're walking a path, and if you're not walking the path that you want to walk, that you shift and change and do what you got to do. And that you don't allow life or trauma or problems to break you. Because you're strong. You're good enough. You're strong enough. It doesn't matter what happened. It matters how you handle it. Really. And I think we know that, right? Because we know that not everything is warranted a response. Not every, you know what I mean? We have some idea of emotional intelligence. But we're not always so emotionally intelligent when we're going through it. So I encourage you to be better, to do better, to get up, to stand up, and to not let life, as hard as it is, to break you. Because at the end of the day, there's always a light at the end of that tunnel. Even if you're standing in the darkness. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. All of these things are very true, and things that I will continue to speak into my life. Because as I go on this journey of healing, you guys are going with me. I'm not healed. I miss my mom daily. I can't look at her face. Because pictures are what make me cry. Not her voice. Not any of that. But realizing that I don't get to see you anymore. I don't get to touch you. I don't get to hug you. I don't get to do none of that. But I'm healing. And I'm on the way. And I'm seeing so clear my purpose. And I know that through this, I'll be okay. Even if I'm not right now. Even when I make it seem like I'm okay with not being okay. And I'm not scared to admit that. But I love you all. And I appreciate the continued support. And even though life doesn't go like we want it to, even though today didn't go like I wanted it to go, I had expectations about my day. But I'm taking it for what it is. And understanding that I'm still going to keep going. So with all of that, peace, love, and happiness to everybody who views my podcast and everybody who doesn't. I just appreciate it all. The love, the criticism, all of it. Because I know that I gotta be a blessing to somebody, or I wouldn't be doing it. But with that, you guys tune in next week. It'll be episode 2. And I'm so excited to see what it brings, what the conversation is. And let's just get in tune. Get in tune. Share it, like it, comment, post it on YouTube. The audio is posted on Apple Podcasts. Hopefully more platforms soon, but you know, we're a work in progress here. Learning as we're going. But and we will talk next week.